Well, hello. Happy Monday morning. This week is going to be a little bit slower than most as far as car stuff is concerned, but I am still, of course, working on projects. Mostly focused around this 1999 Ferrari F355 GTS F1. Yeah, F1. Ew. But anyway, this thing has an inoperable parking brake. It is fully adjusted. So I'm guessing the shoes are bad. So I'm gonna have to do that job. I finally got everything from the Ferrari parts dealership. And also the electric fans are starting to draw too much current. So in there, I've got some SPAL fans. The original equipment for this car are curved blade, 16-inch high output SPAL fans. They are, however, open motor fans, which are not suitable for street use, according to the manufacturer of the fans. So what I've ordered are the sealed motor version, which last a lot longer, but don't flow quite as much. I think these are 2500 CFM and these are 2300. Nobody on the forums has had an issue with the slightly lower CFM, and everyone seems to think these are a good upgrade. So that's what I'm gonna do. First up is gonna be the fans. So that's just a bunch of Phillips screws to take the liners out, and there, I mean, you can see it right in there. So those are pretty easy to get to. After that, we'll get to the parking brake shoes, which are inside of the rotor hat. However, in order to do that, we will have to pull the calipers. Since they're Brembos, that's normally pretty easy. Just a couple of carrier bolts. These, unfortunately, are not the style that through bolt, like the Porsches or most of the aftermarket Brembos. So again, we'll get to that, but step one's gonna be the fans. So I'm gonna take my Phillips and zip all those guys out of there, and of course be careful with these liners because I think these are fiberglass and they're quite expensive. So there we have the original SPAL and lovely tubby headers. I actually see a bit of an oil leak, maybe coming from that valve cover gasket though. That's not good. I didn't do the engine out on this one, somebody else did. So it looks like there's RTV in there and you're not supposed to do that with these cars. Cool. So anyway, this radiator on this side does the engine oil cooler, which is what you see here. And then there's also a radiator in front of it. But all we're gonna do is take off these 10 mils. Be careful to not rip these rubber isolators behind them. You may have to clamp that with a pliers. And then once you've got all four of them off, there is a weather tight plug right here, which is a standard like headlight connector. Just pinch it and pull. And we'll pull this guy off. We'll check the part numbers once it's off, but I'm sure these are original. You can see a hole into the motor right there. And of course it is a SPAL fan. It's got an OE part number on it for Ferrari, so if it isn't original, it's from a dealership. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna grab my 10 mil. I'm gonna rip all four of those off, and we'll get it out, and I'll show it next to the new SPAL as well as the differences between them. So that's what it looks like without the fan. The two on the inside are actually caged. The two on the outside are not. So in order to get those, you're probably gonna wanna pick up a stubby wrench, a 10 mil, just to reach around the backside so you can get those off. The only thing I've done now is pulled the fan and the gasket off. The gasket you're gonna wanna reuse. I don't even know how that orients. You're also gonna be reusing these tabs. So next up, I'll open up one of the new fans and show you how they're different and how they're similar. So there's our new fan. There's our old one. They look very similar. And as you can see, this even has the correct plug on it, which is nice. There are 3 variants of this power output, size, and blade configuration. This is the OE number. Oh, pardon. What is it? 16-inch. It's not even listed. There it is. That's the part number you want if you want a direct replacement. You can go with a 4.8 or a 4.9. I think the 4.8's bare wire, the 4.9 is the standard SPAL connector. And you can splice them, but I opted to go for this fan. So the only other difference you'll note is these are 14 gauge wire and these are 12 gauge. The 14 is an absolute plenty for this, and it does draw a little bit less current. I think this is a 22 amp fan, and this one is a 25 or 26, which is just fine normally too, because they have a 30 amp fuse each. The other fan on this car, the left side one, is tripping the 30 amp intermittently, so it has to go, and you may as well do them in pairs. So the reason why they start to draw more current and trip generally is because debris gets into the brushes and just starts messing with everything. So this one actually still feels pretty okay, but again, it's just cheap insurance on a car like this, and it'll keep everything a little bit happier in the electrical system too, because of the lower draw. And there you have it, simple as pie. Everything's in, works great. And there's side two. This one's actually easier. All four of them are on standoffs, so this one only took, a few minutes, whereas the other side took maybe 20. So just gonna shove the liner back in, and then I'm gonna start on the parking brake rehab here. Actually, the shoes don't look that terrible. I think these things were just that far out of adjustment. That being said, I have it apart, so I'm gonna replace them anyway. This is a lot easier if you have the correct tools for these little springs. I actually do have those at home. I don't have them here, so I'll have to do this with the standard pliers, but wow, that's interesting too. Normally these are quarter turn little clips up here and down here, but this just has a single piece of sheet metal. Huh. There's even some load on the adjuster, that's incredible. So that's what we're working with. Came out of here. And I'll dig the new stuff out. So there we have the lovely new hardware. Now, what I have to do is align the hub with this thing here, put the rotor back on it, and set it. So what I'm looking for when I adjust this is just a teeny tiny little bite on the inside of the rotor hat, and then I have to adjust that all the way back. Yeah, that's right. I gotta say, big ups to Ferrari for putting an actual hole in their rotor so you don't have to go in through the lug bolt like BMW. Look at that beautiful new hardware in there. Cool. So I've got the parking brakes, shoes replaced on the other side. I'm gonna work on this side now. I've got my 6mm Allen there, 13mm bolt there, two 19s on the carrier on the back, and then we'll pull the rotor off this side as well, take a look inside there, and then we'll replace the shoes, check the springs, replace the adjuster. Honestly, the shoes don't look that bad, but still worth replacing. These little springs here, if you have the proper drum brake pliers, are really, really easy to deal with. If you don't, though, you can take a very, very small standard screwdriver and work it in behind the spring. And I'll get it in place and show you what I mean. That's essentially what I mean there. And you can just pop it right out. So really not too bad. You can use a similar trick to get it back in there with the very small flat blade screwdriver as well. So that's how I'm getting them off. Before you pull the bottom spring, make sure to pull your adjuster out and set it aside, otherwise it will fly all over the place. And next up is bottom spring. Same procedure. The shoes will fall out, so make sure you're holding those. Got the new adjuster and new shoes in. Everything's looking pretty good, so I'll check the rotor back on, throw my retainers in, and then I'll be working the adjuster in a, what is that? Well, I guess upward direction on this side. But for now, I'm gonna pretty much bottom it out. Right now, I'm contracting it. So that's the gist of how you adjust this stupid thing. And just like that, all done. I did go inside, rip the handbrake, and everything seems to be locked up nice. The actual adjuster in there is kind of bottomed out still, so I think I could back that off and then do a little more adjusting with the screwdriver, just to kind of calibrate the system a little bit better. When these shoes start to wear down a little bit more, I'll probably hop in there and do that, but until then, it seems like this thing's working just fine. So I think the only thing left for this car is the headlight pop-up motor on this side does not operate. So I have a brand new one, cheaper than buying a used one, which is ridiculous, but I'm guessing I'll have to maybe pull fender liner out or bumper. Not really sure. That's a brake duct. I'll try to get at it from under the hood, but there's a real possibility I'll have to pull fender liners out to get at that.